and then in that case we can display the appropriate error in here. So we're going to take a look at the error event and apply this to the Ajax options option. So we're going to specify Ajax options, and this is going to be again in curly braces. So I'm going to supply the error option, and this is going to be a function, or the error event, sorry, within our Ajax options. And this function is going to take in XHR, index, status, and anchor. Now we don't require XHR, index, status, but we do require anchor. Unfortunately, we have to supply these parameters as well in order to be able to use this anchor. So if we do return an error, what do we want to do? Well, we want to go ahead and place an error inside of our area. So essentially what we want to do is place the error inside of here. So we need to reference anchor.hash, and then we can apply some HTML or some text into there. And the text I'm going to apply in is could not load page. So let's go ahead and just break this up a little bit just so it looks a bit neater. Let's bring this down here, and then let's go ahead and bring this down here just so it doesn't look as messy. Let's check here, can come down there, and this error function here can go ahead and come down as well. So it's important that you lay everything out correctly so we have it looking nice. And then our additional options for tabs can then be supplied after this, so they will be supplied here. So we can again come and bring this down after we're done. So now what's going to happen is we've set Ajax options and we've called the error status, or the error, yeah, I guess you could call it status, the terminology doesn't really matter. And then we're taking the specific area that we're placing this into, so the anchor that's applied to it. And then we're just putting could not load page into there. So let's go ahead and refresh. All the rest work. When I click loop, it says could not load page because we're trying to load that loop.php file that I put into the link earlier here. So now that we go and now we're going to go ahead and actually create this loop page. So inside the PHP folder, I'm going to store this as loop.php. Now inside here, I'm just going to create just a simple loop that's going to run through numbers 1 to 10. So we're going to say for x equals 1. While x is greater than or equal to 10, add 1 to x, and then we're going to echo out x, and as well as that a line break. We can just use a comma here. So this essentially doesn't really matter if you don't know what this code does or how it works, but it loops through numbers 1 to 10, echoes out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with a break on the end of that. So now when we actually click on loop, you'll see that the PHP file has been executed into this content area. So we're using an Ajax call to actually grab the contents of loop.php. So it's extremely easy to load external files just by putting them in the href, as opposed to using a hash selector and selecting the particular div that you want to show. So that's an interesting part about this as well. Obviously more Ajax options can be defined. I do have an Ajax tutorial in this series, so you can go ahead and check that out. But yeah, apart from that, we're just going to be using error. I guess that's appropriate in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some more options that we can give this. The first one we're going to be looking at is event. Now by default we need to actually click on tabs to have them loaded. What about if we want to roll over the tabs and they load automatically as we roll over? Well, with the event option we can go ahead and supply something like mouse over, and now when we refresh, when we actually hover our cursor over these tabs, the content displays. So depending on sort of like how you want everything to work and how accessible you want each option to be, you can go ahead and implement this option. It's quite a nice idea, just depending on how you want your user to view things, and if you want them to be able to click on them or hover over. So let's go ahead and get rid of that for now while we go on to the next option, and I'm going to choose this next option, which is collapsible. And I'm going to set this option to true. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh the page, you'll see that now each option is collapsible if we double click on it. So we can select tabs as usual and display content as we normally would. However, we can go ahead and collapse the content as well if we click on the same tab that's currently open. So I can collapse that content and it's no longer in view. So this would be more useful, for example, something that a user wants to, well, let's just take the example. Let's say you had a few of these under each other. For example, particular settings for a user. If the user no longer wanted to see this, they could just click that and they could work on the rest of the page. Obviously this takes up quite a bit of space in terms of if you wanted to keep your page nice and short, so the collapsible option is quite a good idea in that case. So the next thing we're going to look at is making these tabs sortable. So for this, we're not supplying an option, but to the end of here we're binding on a couple of functions that are going to allow this to be sortable. So at the end of this tabs just here, we want to go ahead and make these sortable. Now usually we would go ahead and say sortable. We've already looked at sortable lists, etc., and we can supply it with the option axis X, because we only want to be able to sort along the X-axis. Now if we take a look at this, you'll see that essentially what we want to do is be able to say put loop at the start of all these and the rest shuffle along. However, if you take a look at just using sortable and axis X, you'll notice that when we pick this up, it moves the entire row of tabs. So it looks a bit messy and it's, you know, sort of not really working very well. It looks a bit you know, messy. There's no real functionality to it. It wouldn't allow you to